Hey filmmakers, it's Kerry from Filmmaker Central, and today I'm going to talk about, I know I'm a little late to the game, the Sony ZV-1. Stay right there. We'll be right back. This channel for a while, you probably know that my go-to camera is the Sony A7III. It's what I'm recording on right now. I love this camera. And I also have a second channel called Trail Traveler, and it is all about off-roading, jeeping, four-wheel drive, all that kind of cool stuff. And when I'm out on the trails, I don't take the Sony A7III. We're rock crawling, we're bouncing around. It's super, super, super dusty. There's just no way I'm putting my Sony A7III into that every weekend. It's just not going to happen. So my go-to cameras there are my DJI Osmo Action and a DJI Osmo Pocket and my iPhone 11X Max. Now, as another camera, I also had my Sony RX100 Mark IV, and I loved that camera. It was a great camera. And you notice I'm using it in past tense. Well, because the camera disappeared, and I have no idea where it is. Now, I don't know if I had it sitting on the counter at my shop and someone stole it. I don't know if I was on a trail and I opened the door and it fell out somewhere. I honestly don't know what happened to it. It's just gone. So I needed another small format camera for video, for stills, that was going to be a step up from the Action Cam or the Pocket, or even my phone for that matter. Something that just was a better video and still camera, but something that wasn't worth thousands of dollars. And, you know, if it got messed up, I wouldn't be completely heartbroken, but, you know, it'd still be a setback. But, you know, I wanted something a little bit smaller. So I did a bunch of research, looked at all the different options out there, including all the Sony, the A6600, and pretty much everything that was out there, the Sony RX100 Mark VII, and the Sony ZV-1, and I settled on the ZV-1. And there's a number of good reasons for that. While the 6600 is a great camera, has every feature I wanted, and it has interchangeable lenses, it's just too much of a camera. I wanted something smaller, more compact, more affordable, that did what I needed it to do. On the other hand, the Sony RX100 Mark VII has a really awesome zoom lens, but there's no built-in ND filter, and there's no real good way of adding an ND filter without weird hacks and gluing stuff on. It's just not a good solution. The ZV-1 is really made for vloggers, and I suppose if you look at what I do with this type of camera, I guess you could say it's vlogging, kind of like this, where it's my talking head, I'm introducing a trail, I'm talking about Jeep maintenance or other types of activities, and it's my talking head with something in the background. And the Osmo Pocket, the field of view is just too narrow, and the wide angle lenses for it just got too soft on the edges. Now there's the new Pocket 2 that was just released, which is definitely a step up, but I haven't seen one yet, and the Pocket always seemed a little on the fragile side for me, and it's still a very small sensor. So the ZV-1 really hits the mark in a lot of places, and there's only a couple things that me and pretty much every person who has reviewed it has said could be improved. So we'll get into some of those and like who this camera's for and why. So cost-wise, you're looking at about $700. So it's, you know, it's not a cheap camera, but it's not thousands of dollars either. So I like the price point, and, you know, I've already got memory cards. I got everything else already for it. Well, it makes this a pretty cool camera. I'm actually going to remove this here so we can kind of see more of the camera. Yes, it is a fixed lens, and it is a 1.8 to 2.8, and I mean, it says it's a 1.8 to 2.8 aperture. Okay, yeah, that's basically true, but really the moment you touch the zoom on it, it jumps right up to 2.8. So you kind of consider it 2.8 all the way through. And at the widest setting, you can get down to 1.8, which I'm usually shooting at for the video stuff. So it's okay. I would really have preferred this to be in the 15 to 16 millimeter range. That would have been perfect for vlogging, but okay, that is what it is. Okay, big plus over here on the side, we have a mic jack. My Sony RX100 Mark IV did not have a mic, so I always had to have something else recording audio if I was using that as a primary camera, whether it be going to an audio recorder on my phone or a Zoom, recorder, something else, or another camera had to be running in order for me to record audio. So it was a kind of a pain in the ass to use it as a primary camera, where this has the microphone built right in. Now, this also has HDMI out, which is super cool because often I do want to use it as a primary camera with a monitor on it, or on a gimbal or glide cam with a monitor attached so I can see what I'm doing a little bit bigger. So having that HDMI out, super, super handy. And it has a multi-port on it, which we'll kind of talk about some of the things you can do, but it's just a standard micro USB. You can use it to charge the battery. You can use it to dump the images from the camera to your computer. You can now use it as a webcam. So that's pretty cool. With Zoom, Google Hangouts, GoToWebinar and stuff, you can use it as a webcam. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't know why I would want a high quality camera as a webcam, but sure, you can do it. It works really well for that. I guess if you want a better quality than the built-in webcam on your computer, or you don't have one, okay. Now, it's a multi-port, so one of the other things it can do is support a handle. There's two different handles available for this. This is the wired one. This is the GP VP T1. I had to look over at it and see what it's called. This plugs into the multi-port, and you have your video start stop, your photo shutter button, and your zoom in and out. Super handy for when you're vlogging. You can hold it out there with it facing you and frame your shots, start and stop, recording, all that good stuff right there from the handle. Makes it super convenient. There is a higher end model. This one is about $100. There's one that's about $150, and it's Bluetooth connection to the camera, which in hindsight, I'm almost thinking I should have gone with that. Now, I don't mind the wire. It doesn't bother me at all. And it's connected to the camera, so what does it matter? Well, I didn't think about it where I may want to put this up on a tripod somewhere and start a time lapse or something, and I don't want to touch the camera. I could just use the Bluetooth remote. Doesn't have to be right underneath the camera. I can do it from, probably a few feet away and control the camera that way. Or, if it had any range, I could set it up somewhere, control the zoom. So in that case, kind of thinking I might have gone with the wireless one had I thought about using it that way. But for now, this will be fine because it suits the purpose that I bought it for. Now, this also kind of folds out into a little tripod, kind of handy there. And it has a very secure lock on it. You actually have to push this button on the side, push it in to adjust the angle, and it locks into place very securely. So, works extremely well. No complaints. No complaints there at all. On the camera itself, we'll get back to it. It has a very large start recording button, and your regular shutter is further up on top of your zoom control. You have your on-off button, your mode to change your shooting modes, and over here there's the custom one, which defaults to the defocus background. Here's an example of it. It just does exactly what it says. If you have good light, you can push the button and defocus the background, focusing more on the subject. Okay, works great. On the top here, you have a 3-element microphone, which actually works pretty good. I'm kind of surprised. And included is this little dead cat. It slides into the hot shoe, and then covers up the microphone elements, giving you pretty good sound outside in the wind. All right, so what makes it a good vlogging camera? There's a couple things. First, the grip on here, they now have this nice little kind of rubberized grip on the front and one on the back. Definitely makes it easier to hold when you're shooting that way. If you don't have a handle or a tripod on it, it is fairly secure holding it by these grips. On my RX100 Mark IV, I actually 3D printed some that I attached on there. But one of the cooler things is a full flip out screen. It's about time. On the RX100 Mark IV, it actually flipped up, which would cut off the bottom of the display where all your exposure settings were. So you couldn't really see that. If you had a microphone on top, well, there went everything, you know. You're done at that point. You couldn't see anything on there. So super handy, love this. And it tilts back so I can view it, tilts forward so you can see it from the front. If you're shooting straight down, you can angle it at the side so you can do a straight down shot. Very handy. Like the screen, very happy with the screen on here. What else? So I think that's all like the cool things on here. It does have some new stabilization, which works pretty good. It's not as good as like an Osmo Action or a GoPro, but it's really not supposed to be. It's not an action camera, but the stabilization's fine for just your walking around talking headshots. It will do 4K 30 at 100 megabits and up to on 1080, you can do 120 frames per second at 100 megabits. And then you can do the high frame rate setting and actually go up to 960 frames per second. Now that is going to drop the video quality quite a bit, so it's not something I'm going to use all the time. You need a lot of light for the exposure to be right, but if for some reason you really need 960 frames per second, it'll do it. Okay, now couple things that I'm really impressed with it is there's no recording time limit. My Sony A7 III will die at 29 minutes and 39 seconds, just shy of 30 minutes for this European tax thing that they had at the time. And very, very annoying. I can't believe they haven't issued a firmware update to fix that. It really, really sucks. Here you can go until you run out of battery or run out of memory card. And you can prevent yourself from running out of battery by plugging in a USB power pack. That'll keep this thing running as long as you have memory. So if you put in a big ass card, it'll run for a long, long time. Now, if you are shooting in 4K doing that, you still run the risk of it overheating and shutting down. But you can go into the settings and turn off the high temperature warning, which will disable the shutoff feature and pretty much shoot 4K as much as you want. Now, one trick to that to make sure it really doesn't overheat is to have the screen open so this back is exposed to the air, help keeping it cool. If you have this closed up while you're shooting 4K, it very well can heat up on you. So keep that in mind. There are some tricks with some stick-on heat sinks and things, but you really don't need it on this one. It should work just fine so long as you have the screen open. So very happy with that. Now, a couple things that kind of bug me about it. The tripod mount is in a stupid spot. It's not directly under the lens, so that's just weird, but all the RX100s have been like that. And there's only a 1 millimeter gap between the threads and the battery door. So there's no way at all to have any type of tripod on here or mount, quick connect or anything and be able to open the door. It's just not gonna happen. You have to take anything out. You can see even when it's open, it goes over the 1/4-20 mount. So in order to change the battery or take the memory card out, you are taking this off of any quick connect or anything that you have connected to the 1/4-20. That is a major annoyance. Wasn't a showstopper because I was used to it, but please, come on. I just can't believe they haven't dealt with that one thing in all these years. So that's kind of the disappointment on it. Now, what do I think of it? I think it's a great camera. I've been using it. I've been getting some footage. I've been getting some video. The audio quality on it is surprisingly good, even outdoors with the muff on, and I'll show you a couple examples. This is the first kind of walk around test in kind of a vlogging format here to see how it's going to work, see how the field of view is, and see how the onboard microphone works. And one thing to keep in mind, and I made this mistake, which is why I had to actually reshoot a couple shots here, is I was doing it in this mode, in this kind of vlogger mode, and the stabilization was horrible. Even though it was just on normal, it was absolutely unusable footage. Turns out, when I was recording sitting at my desk, I had turned on the product showcase, which disables image stabilization. So make sure you turn product showcase off if you need any image stabilization. All right, we're here in the garage where I do a lot of my trail traveler videos talking about maintenance on the Jeep and everything. I only have one little light bulb turned on, and just to kind of see what the low light performance would be, I'm at ISO, I'm looking over at the screen, I'm at ISO 6400 at f2.8 and at 1/60th of a second. And just to kind of see how much noise there would be in this. And yeah, I mean, looking at the screen, it's not bad, but still, I'm using the internal microphone just to kind of see how that sounds. So now I'm outside and there's some noise. There's cars, there's a lot of ambient noise out here. And again, I'm at ISO 6400 at f1.8 to kind of see how that would look. Oh, getting my shadow in there. The only light is that porch light behind me because I wanted to see how this would actually look. So I'm at 1/60th of a second at f1.8, and I'm getting a little underexposed, but not too bad. I'll just move a little closer to that light. But here we got cars going by, and I really wanted to see what this external mic would do in more of an environmental condition. So let's hear how that sounds. Well, we're doing some more testing with the Sony ZV-1. We're outdoors. There's quite a bit of noise out here. We got some trucks over in the back. We got cars. We got airplanes going overhead. A lot of noise today. So on these tests, it's not just how well can you do with just the onboard microphone, but sometimes how good can you clean it up in post as well. So in this particular shot, I'm going to use the Era 5 plugins and see if I can improve the noise quality or the sound quality, as well as how well does it do by itself, and what can I do in post to clean it up. Because in order to clean it up good in post, you have to have decent audio to begin with. So hopefully that was a good test. People are going to buy this as a video camera, but it does take great stills. It is a 20 megapixel camera on a 1-inch sensor. So your low light performance is actually pretty decent, and the quality of the images is really good. And it does have a macro shooting mode, which can get you super close to things, and the pictures turn out pretty darn good. Here's a few pictures that I took, and just walking around, taking some snaps, nothing too exciting there, but just to kind of show the quality of the images is fantastic. The color science in here, I do feel is improved over my A7 III. I like the skin tones better. It just feels a little more natural to me when I'm color grading it. It does have all the standard picture profiles that my A7 III has. So it does Cinelike, it does S-Log, S-Log2, S-Log3, HLG, does all the higher end stuff. The autofocus on here is better than my A7 III. It is super, super fast autofocus with automatic eye detection all the time. So it works fantastic. Now, there is a feature on here that I'm going to show you because I think it's kind of underrated in some respects. and that is called Product Showcase. Now, let me get the camera turned on, and I'll go into my settings here, and I'm going to turn on Product Showcase. All right, and let me pull my screen out so I can see what I'm doing here, get myself framed up in my shot. There we go. And I guess I don't need the ISO as high as it was. All right. Now, for the vloggers out there who do a lot of like product photography or product reviews and things, often you'll see them take a product and hold it as close to the camera as they can for a nice close-up of it. The problem is when you do that, it is rarely ever going to be in focus. And if it does, it may hunt quite a bit. So you throw something out there, it may not focus. You do it again, it might. If you do it in front of your face, it generally will, because the face detection is being disabled. So Product Showcase, on the other hand, let me start recording here. Product Showcase is a little different in that it will default to the face, but if something else is closer to the camera, it will highlight that. So here I've got the little remote. I'm going to bring it up into the frame there. Take it away. And you can see the vast majority of the time, it's going to work extremely well. So I'm actually going to get over to the side here. You can see it blurs me out and focuses. Most of the problem is the lighting on here. The camera's a little close. Or I mean, my light's a little close. So Product Showcase, huge feature for vloggers that do product type things and are throwing stuff at the camera as those close-ups. So that is everything I like about this. And for me, this is going to be a great extra camera. Now, I do want to talk about who this camera is really for. Who's going to want this camera? Well, it's a broad spectrum of people, I believe. I think I'm going to turn this off. It's kind of bugging me looking. I see myself down there on the screen. It's a great family camera because it does great stills, does great video, and the audio, not too shabby. And you can plug in a mic if you want to. I often use the Rode Wireless Go. Plugs right in, great sound, no problem, absolutely love it. The form factor is great, fit in your pocket, take it anywhere, vacations, everything. You're going to get great videos, you're going to get great pictures. It's just going to be a great all-around camera. The next level up is going to be those beginner filmmakers who want a camera and need a camera that has some pro-level features like color profiles, Cinelike or S-Log, that has a microphone jack so you can record audio, that has, some little bit of stabilization in it so you can get some moving shots a little bit better. For in that same genre would be people who are doing stock video, stock footage. Great camera to always have on you to pull out real quickly and shoot for stock footage. Now moving up a little bit for more like people like me, where this is going to be primarily a B camera, it's absolutely awesome because it will match with all my other cameras. Now I did say that I use the DJI Osmo Action and DJI Pocket, and I also have a DJI Mavic 2 Pro. And with the Action and the Pocket, they both can shoot Cinelike. So very easy to match the footage. The Mavic 2 Pro does shoot D-Log, but because it is log, I can get it to color match pretty darn good. I actually wish DJI would add Cinelike to that machine, so I was like consistent across the board. Not a huge ordeal, but it works just fine. So pretty much all my stuff can use Sony LUTs, Sony presets, everything Sony. So it's very easy to make all my stuff look very consistent. So that was important to me. So I'm not going with a GoPro where the footage is going to look completely different than everything else, and I'm going to spend more time matching that footage together. So for me, great combination to go along with the other products that I already use. Now, the size factor, the price point, the features, all add up to a camera that I am going to use pretty heavily. Now, in my case, sometimes it's going to be my A camera when I'm doing the talking head stuff. Other times it may be a B camera or a second camera to get second footage. So either way, it will be a very versatile camera in my bag. So that's how I feel about the Sony ZV-1. I don't go into a lot of the specs and all the features and going through all the screens because there's people like Jason Vong who have done a killer job of talking about all that stuff, and there's just no need to rehash everything that they've said. What I wanted to do was come in here several months later after kind of all the hype has died off and after I've taken the time to research and decide what camera I'm going to use for my purposes, and then tell you why I did it and the features that I felt were important and how I think this would be a good camera for a lot of the people who watch this channel. So hopefully this has been informative, educational, and I don't think it was very entertaining. I wasn't very funny today, but whatever, we'll go with that. So thanks for watching, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe. This is Filmmaker Central, and I'm Kerry Garrison. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.